The Saiyans were covered in cuts and bruises beyond his comprehension. "Don't just stand there. Go get us some sensor beans," said Vegeta. Wasting no time, he reached out and gave the Saiyans a bag filled with sensor beans, which the Saiyans had eaten. "Try this, Broly," said Goku. "This is called a sensor bean, and after eating this, it will completely restore your energy and strength." Broly was suspicious of the beans, but he decided not to question his comrades as he had now trusted them wholeheartedly. After eating, the Saiyans' power had increased significantly higher than it was before they had fought the gods. The Zenkai boost that the Saiyans had gotten was terrifying, as Kami could be seen passed out from the force emanating from the Saiyans. "Yes," said Vegeta, "I've finally surpassed you in power now, Kakarot. I can't fully control it, but I know it's possible with training, of course. I'll be starting after I've spent some one-on-one time with my wife, if you know what I mean." As Vegeta was about to leave, Gohan called out to him and spoke. "I must know, Vegeta, the form you used to defeat the angels, what was it? The ki that was emanating from that form feels very dangerous." "I don't know," said Vegeta. "All I know is that I was frustrated due to the fact that Kakarot was always one step ahead of me. After my rage, I felt a surge of energy enter my body. It was almost overwhelming, really, but I managed to grab a hold of it and make it my own. Thankfully, the form you witnessed was the ending result. Honestly, who cares what this power is? The fact is it's mine now, and I'm now leagues ahead of Kakarot. I'm going home now. You fools can stay here if you like." Broly had also decided to go back to Chile, so he asked Goku to teleport him back to planet Vampa, which Goku respectfully did. After he had dropped off Broly, he spoke. "The fight is not over just yet. Rest up well. We're coming back to get you in a month." Afterwards, they both teleported home to Chi-Chi. Suddenly, in another dimension, the first mortal speaks. "Who was that mortal? He had managed to gain control over my powers so easily. I must have him. He is the key to me getting out of this place." Due to the crack in the dimension barrier, Salama wanted to use the crack to his advantage. He had managed to send out small traces of his ki to find worthy mortals in hopes of gaining control of their souls and mind. After the first stage of his plan was complete, Step 2 was to use the mortal's power to break the seal that was placed on the multi-level barrier that was preventing his escape. Realizing that his plan had failed, Salama grew angry. "This mortal is strong," he spoke. "Even though it was a portion of my energy, it was still far beyond what mortals should be capable of, and yet that mortal had somehow managed to gain complete control over it. Now he's using it as if it's his own. The nerve of him."
Cross my heart and hope to die. Welcome to my dark side.
Please join us on Patreon for more episode and new series weeks in advance.
To think that the Omni King would let a mortal possess such strength is crazy. After the battle we had, and others that follow, one would think to put preventive measures in place to prevent such things from happening again. He had always been so cocky. That's part of the reason why I despise him so much. One day I will be the one sitting confidently on that throne while using his head as a footstool. Seconds later, he suddenly felt the seal growing stronger and stronger by the second. In a matter of minutes, the seal was completely restored. In fact, it was even stronger than how it previously was. The Grand Priest had managed to rebuild the seal beyond its former glory. Is that the Daishinkan? That angel had always been a thorn in my ass. Trust me, I will get out of here, and on that day your life will be the first I take. Our story continues with the Omni King sitting comfortably on his throne. On the outside he kept up the appearance as if the current situation wasn't a big issue, but on the inside, he was raging. Only the Grand Priest could tell, as he had been with the Omni King since the dawn of time. He could feel his murderous ki spreading throughout the palace. Feeling as if he needed to calm the Omni King down, he spoke. My lord, on the matter regarding Saiyans, have you come to a decision as yet? You need only to speak the words and it shall be done. Lost in his thoughts, the Omni King didn't hear a word spoken by the Grand Priest. His mind was flustered. Things haven't been this active since his last battle with Zarama. How could all of this happen under my watch? Said the Omni King. That Saiyan Goku, was I too trusting of him? I understand his frustration, but that doesn't justify what he had done. He put the entire multiverse in danger over a grudge. I can't sympathize with you, son Goku. I'm the one true ruler of everything. It seems I let you grow too relaxed, like a king not commanding his subjects. It's time I show you mortals why I'm so feared. The action of the Saiyans had made the Omni King grow angry. It had only been 2 weeks since Rumshi and his Kai had died, but he could feel the sudden changes in Universe 10. Without its god of destruction and a supreme Kai keeping Universe 10 in check, the universe is now shifting out of balance. My lord, one such as yourself shouldn't be bothered with matters such as this. This should be left to your attendants. How about you let me deal with those Saiyans from now on? Although they have gained a significant increase in strength, I'm confident in stating that they are still not a match for my other children. Even though they fought admirably, Korn and Kusu were some of my youngest children and they were the only 2 who were still in training. All my other children have already completed their angelic training and I'm proud to say that they all far surpass both of them in both power, knowledge and skills. Seeing the Grand Priest so dedicated in serving him pleased him, but he had thought of a much quicker way to deal with the Saiyans as a whole. I'm not doubting the capability of your children, said the Omni King. But it's way easier if I just erase the entire universe. Universe 7 had survived long enough, with no god of destruction and no angel attendant. What's the point in letting that universe thrive? After being granted unlimited knowledge, the Grand Priest immediately recognized the value and benefits of letting Universe 7 survive. He feels as if it's not necessary to erase the entire universe as a whole, but he knew that he was just an advisor to the Omni King. Therefore he was not permitted to question a formal decree made by Zeno himself. The Omni King was no fool. He could sense the Grand Priest's conflicted thoughts. Do not be afraid to speak, Daishinkan, said the Omni King. You are my advisor and attendant. Your entire job is to make sure I make the right decisions. If you feel as if I'm making the wrong decision, don't be afraid to inform me of my incompetence. The Grand Priest was pleased to hear this revolution mentioned by the Omni King, and with a plan formulating in his head, he spoke. Universe 7 is located in the center of the multiverse, which serves as a bridge to all the universes. Simply erasing Universe 7 will send the development of the multiverse back thousands of years. I suggest appointing a new god of destruction and a new angel. I know you remember my other son Miru's. He could become Universe 7's next angel. After all, that's where he resides right now. As for a new god of destruction, I suggest that Frieza, my lord. He had shown great strength in the Tournament of Power. With proper training, I think he could be positioned into that role very soon. It's just a suggestion, my lord, but of course, if you find it displeasing, I won't interject in your decision any further. It's not a problem, said the Omni King. After all, it's why I appointed you. I'm now intrigued by this plan of yours. It is much more lively and well thought out than what I had in mind. Okay, I've decided to trust you with this. Do not fail me. Rest assured, my lord, those Saiyans shall be taken care of. After his initial talk with the Omni King, the Grand Priest had telepathically summoned all of his children to come to the palace of the Omni King, which they respectfully did. There they discuss methods on how to deal with the Saiyans without disrupting the cosmic balance of the multiverse. Meanwhile, the remaining 11 gods of destruction had used this opportunity to have a meeting of their own. Taking full advantage of the angel's absence, they all met up at Belmont's planet, a planet that lies at the center of Universe 11. After they all arrived, a badly injured Licker spoke. I know this doesn't come as a surprise, but the reason for Rumshi's absence is that he was killed. He was murdered by those Saiyans of Universe 7. What? Said Belmont as all the gods of destruction stand up in total confusion. How could this be? Could we have underestimated the strength of those Saiyans? All the gods were in turmoil, but a soft silent voice had silenced the entire room. What is Beerus doing about this? Said Jin, the god of destruction of Universe 12. He can't even control his mortals. They might be working together, said Hellas. Silently Champa was listening. He knew of his twin brother personally. With that in mind he spoke. My brother may be a dick, but he would never stand for such things. He would never plot against the Omni King. So where is he? Said Hellas, who was still not convinced of Champa's speech. I don't know, but if he is not attending to this matter, then I'm afraid that he might be either dead or missing. After a long discussion, Lord Beerus was eliminated as a suspect. Meanwhile, something were starting to bother Liquor. It had been over 2 weeks since he had last seen his angel Corn. He tried to reach out telepathically, but he had gotten a known answer. He even tried going to the palace of the Omni King in hopes of finding Corn, but he was abruptly sent back. Feeling as if he must inform his fellow god of destruction, he spoke. The last time I saw my angel attendant Corn was during the fight with those Saiyans. It's been almost 2 weeks and I still haven't seen or heard a word from him. I even went to the palace of the Omni King, but I was abruptly sent back. I think something happened during the fight after I had fallen unconscious, and the Grand Priest is now covering it up. Yes, said Champa. Though it pains me to say this, I have to agree with Liquor on this matter. Early today, Vados had received a message from the Grand Priest telling her that she should join them at the palace. Usually this wouldn't be strange, but ever since then, she has neither returned nor spoken to me. After hearing what Champa had just mentioned, all the gods had revealed that they all had witnessed similar issues. In their mind, something big was about to happen. Whatever they were summoned for, I'm sure it has to do with those Saiyans, said Belmont. I think we should save them the trouble and kill them ourselves. We started this, so it's only right that we should be the one to end it. With that being said, I brought someone with me who was listening in on the conversation. Ever since the Tournament of Power, he had been immersed in his training, and I can confidently say that he might be even stronger than Vados herself. He told me himself that he was looking forward to the day he got his rematch with Goku. So I've decided to grant him his opportunity, only this time it will be a fight to the death. With confidence emanating from his voice, Belmont spoke. Jiren, come forth. Our story continues with Jiren being summoned by his current god of destruction Belmont to join the meeting that was meant for only deities. Upon his arrival, the gods could sense that something was different about him. They couldn't tell what, but they all had an uneasy feeling the moment he walked in. Jiren was as cocky as ever, but that still wasn't it. Even though he was at base, the aura radiating off the mortal was astonishing. I'm sure you all remember my champion Jiren, said Belmont. I strongly believe that he is our answer to defeating that Saiyan Goku. What's the meaning of this, said Champa. This was supposed to be a secret meeting meant for us gods. Why would you disrespect us by bringing a mortal along? I don't care how impressive he is. A mortal is still a mortal. Therefore he doesn't belong in the presence of us gods unless we permit otherwise. The gods were angry, but they were more confused after hearing Belmont's bold claim. Belmont's previous statement was the only thing playing back and forth in their heads. How could Belmont say that this is our solution in defeating the Saiyans, said Sidra. Clearly he is not aware of the power that those Saiyans now possess. I mean, he is impressive, but those mortals have long far surpassed him in every attribute. After all, they managed to kill Rumshi and almost kill Liquor. From the far end of the room, Belmont's statement was further challenged by Liquor, who had felt the Saiyan's power firsthand. Quick notice for all my viewers and subscribers. If you're a supporter of this channel and you enjoy what I do, then please subscribe to my second channel. The link can be found in the video description and comments section below. You can't be serious, he shouted. Of course we remember him, but we also remember him being defeated by that very same Saiyan. It's obvious he has gained some strength, but those Saiyans are leagues ahead of him now. I would know after all. I was the one who suffered from their overwhelming power. Jiren, who was listening, wasn't too fond of hearing Liquor talk down to him. With a familiar glare he spoke. You speak so little of me, God. I suggest you watch your mouth when speaking, but before it gets out of hand, Belmont abruptly intervenes. Calm down, Jiren, it's not his fault. They just don't understand how strong you have gotten in these past few years. My fellow gods, said Belmont. Jiren had attained a considerable amount of strength, so don't trouble yourself, leave this to him. I guarantee you that we will see results before this day ends. Liquor was angry, his face began to show a look of rage while he firmly clenched his fist. He got so angry that his destruction ki began to rise. Soon after, everyone in the entire room began to feel the murderous ki radiating off his body. Suddenly, the god confidently took a stand and spoke. I'll be the judge of that, after all. I'm the only one in this room who witnessed and felt those Saiyans' powers. If you can't best me, then you have no chance in hell against the likes of them, but I must warn you, after my battle with the Saiyans, I've also gained a significant increase in strength as well. My lord, said Jiren as he was looking to see if his god Belmont would permit him to accept the formal challenge. However, unbeknownst to him, this was exactly what Belmont wanted. He knew that his fellow gods wouldn't just blindly take his words as absolute, so he needed them to witness Jiren's strength in action, and what better way to show such strength than him humiliating the god of destruction in their presence. The stage was set and Liquor had fallen into Belmont's trap. With a cunning grin on his face, he spoke. Very well, I'll allow this challenge, Jiren, just don't overdo it. Indicating to start on his command, he raised his hand ready to signal the starting of the match. Suddenly, before Belmont had the chance to say begin, an angry Liquor charged in at Jiren. With speed far greater than what he displayed against Goku, he appears up front in Jiren's face. What? Don't tell me that I'm too fast for you, said Liquor. I can dial it down if you want, as a confident smile begins to break out. How disappointing, said Jiren as his eyes began to follow Liquor's every move. He was not just reading Liquor's moves, but he knew where Liquor's every moves were about to take him before it actually happened. After fully analyzing Liquor's every move, he spoke. Is this all your strength, God? I was expecting much more from the god of Universe 8. How pitiful. To call yourself a god is an understatement. You cocky bastard, said Liquor. This fight isn't over as he proceeds to deliver a punch to the face of Jiren. The sudden look of confidence he once had quickly turned to despair as his punches did nothing to hurt Jiren. It's my turn, said Jiren. The tremor from his voice alone was enough to force Liquor in a defensive position. With his foot planted firmly on the ground, he did something that's quite familiar to the Dragon Ball world. At the blink of an eye, Liquor body was being pumped by a barrage of punches. These were not your typical attack, as every strike became more sharp and fast each time he threw a punch. This had completely knocked Liquor out of destruction form, forcing God to his knees. Before Jiren could advance, surprisingly to everyone, the Grand Priest had stepped through a transportation portal and made his entrance mid-fight. This unexpected appearance had managed to surprise all the gods. As quickly as they can, all 11 gods of destruction stand up formally to greet the Grand Priest as they have met his terrifying gaze. Daishinkan, you're here, said a frightening Belmont. What brings you to Universe 11, if I may ask? Well, isn't this interesting, said the Grand Priest as he is slowly walked towards the gods. All 11 gods of destruction have gathered in one place. Now, what could you naughty gods be planned, and why wasn't I made aware of this meeting? I'm the overseer of everything that resides in this multiverse. You really think that I wouldn't know about all your secret meetings? I've known from the start, even your first plot to kill Son Goku, which had now put us in this predicament. I've known all this time. Normally all of you would be stripped of your title as God of Destruction, but it seems that the situation at hand is too important for such a matter. You'll receive your punishment in due time. Now on to more important matters. I'm sure Liquor had already told you this, but Rumshi has suffered a tragic fate and he is now in Otherworld. Also, it wasn't just Rumshi who was killed. Both of my children Korn and Kusu have also suffered the same fate. After hearing what the Grand Priest had announced, all the gods were stupefied. The announcement of the death of an angel had shocked them to their core, with Liquor being the most shocking of them all. How can this be, Korn, my angel killed by a lonely mortal? That's simply impossible. Is it even possible to cause harm to an angel? I assure you all, this is the absolute truth. They are dead, and it's up to me to take care of the mess you started. This action of yours had troubled the Omni King quite a bit. He even thought about handling the current situation himself. As you all know, the Omni King rarely takes action. That's how much he's troubled by all of this. Now, I was thinking, and I managed to come up with a solution to solve the current crisis, and I've also thought of a way for you gods to rebuild the trust that Zeno once had for you. After a long conversation, Belmont had explained the plan to send Jiren to Earth, but after fully observing and analyzing Jiren's newly attained powers, he was impressed, but he still felt that Jiren alone would still not be nearly enough to challenge the Saiyans as they are now. His initial plan was to have all 11 gods of destruction ambush the Saiyans, but now after he had witnessed Jiren's new strength, he decided to add him to the mix alongside the gods. The Grand Priest had a plan, and it was brilliant. He knew that the Saiyans were using Whis' staff to locate the gods one by one. He was planning and using that very method of transportation to ambush the Saiyans. After Goku had commanded the staff to locate a god, the staff would have no choice but to do as it's told, bringing them to section 444, where all the gods would be waiting to ambush them. The Grand Priest was a tactical genius. Although he feels that it would be easy for him to take down the Saiyans by himself, he simply wanted the gods to redeem themselves in the eyes of the Omni King. So his plan was to have the gods overpower the Saiyans with the sheer number and strength. With all 11 gods of destruction and Jiren fighting together, he feels as if this would be an easy challenge. Don't you think that that's a bit excessive, said Quitella. Surely it doesn't require all us gods to defeat one lonely mortal. But it isn't just one mortal, said Liquor. It's actually 4 of them. You've all met 3 from the Tournament of Power, Goku, Vegeta and Gohan, but there's a 4th. I'm not sure of his name, but after fighting him, I personally can tell you that he might be the strongest of the group. Enough, said the Grand Priest. How dare you question my judgment? If it wasn't required, I wouldn't have stated it. I've thought about every possible variable, and every outcome shows the gods being victorious. Now all of you should leave this place and wait for the Saiyans to arrive at section 444. The universe can't handle such a battle. Not to question you, my lord, said Sidra. But are we supposed to just wait there for whenever the Saiyans decide to attack us? After hearing Sidra's concerns, he spoke. I've been watching their every step lately, and I'm quite confident that they are about to make their next move. Go there and wait. Any time now, they will make an appearance. With a wave of his hand, the Grand Priest had instantly transported all 11 gods of destruction alongside Jiren to section 444, where they eagerly await the Saiyans' arrival. Our story continues on Earth with the Saiyans eating what was to be their last home-cooked meal before they head off back into war. During that time, Goku had brought both Broly and Chile to stay on Earth, as he was informed by Gohan that it's dangerous for them to be alone throughout this mess. It had only been a few weeks since the battle with the angels had transpired, and Vegeta knew that it was only a matter of time before the deities made their next move. So all the Saiyans sat around the dinner table discussing their next plan of action. Throughout this conference, Gohan realized that they were now at a huge disadvantage. With each passing day, a victory for the Z-Fighter in this entire war seems to be getting out of reach. Initially, the conflict was only meant to be a battle between gods and mortals, but ever since the angels got involved, the odds were heavily in favor of the gods. There was always a possibility that the angels would intervene, and that was something that the Saiyans had long been aware of. However, they relied on the angels' neutrality, the law that was set by the Omni King himself, which prohibited them from meddling in gods' and mortals' affairs. However, it appears that this law was changed, and now even the Omni King desired their annihilation. With this revolution in mind, the Saiyans understood that it was kill or be killed. The weight that they were carrying on their back was heavy. They knew that if they had succumbed to death, their loved ones in the universe might have shared the same fate, and this was something they couldn't allow. But even so, they realized that they were severely lacking in power. Even with their recent power-up and increase in abilities, they all knew the odds were stacked against them. They had always believed that taking on the remaining 10 gods of destruction was within their current capabilities, but now that the angels had aligned themselves with the gods, the confidence they once had was closely dissipating into nothingness. Furthermore, the crack in the evil containment wave jar which they had trapped Lord Beerus was starting to get bigger each passing day. Eventually Lord Beerus would break free, and when he does, they knew that he would be furious and might even destroy the Earth in their absence. The Saiyans were under a lot of pressure, and having to worry about the Earth's safety wasn't helping. It was during this discussion Vegeta had called Piccolo over and asked, "Do you believe that you're the strongest Namekian in history, and is this the limit to your strength?" Piccolo was in a daze, trying to understand what Vegeta was getting at. Not wanting to question Vegeta, he spoke. "I am currently the strongest Namekian now, but that wasn't the case at one point according to Kame. There was a super Namekian mentioned in Namekian methodology that was said to have the powers of gods, but over time, this knowledge was lost and forgotten. I learned of this from Kame in the Namekian Book of Legends, the very same book that Shenron speaks of, on how to summon a Super Saiyan god." "Well," said Gohan, "do you believe that you can achieve that legendary form which you spoke of?" "It's only a myth, it might not be true," said Piccolo. "What are you trying to get at?" Previously, all the Saiyans had agreed that it's unwise to leave the Earth unprotected whenever they leave. They thought that even though the Z fighters were strong in their own way, if they were up against a god, they would have no chance of winning. Furthermore, with Beerus on the rise of escaping his prison, they need someone strong enough to be able to protect the Earth in their absence. That's when Gohan came up with a brilliant plan to significantly increase the strength of the Z fighters. Krillin, Master Roshi, Piccolo and even Yamcha, having to constantly think about the protection of Earth is quite distracting in battle, said Goku. If we're to ever have a chance of defeating those deities, it is imperative that we are level-headed and have a concentrated train of thought. We need you and the others to get stronger. It didn't say, said a flustered Piccolo. But Shenron's knowledge is vast, so I think we should ask him instead. The decision to call Shenron was made within seconds. Trunks and Goten, who were hiding silently and eavesdropping on their conversation, remembered that Bulma had recently located all 7 Dragon Balls and was keeping them concealed in her laboratory. After wanting to help in some way, the boys were pleased to come from under the table and inform them of this finding. Although they were surprised, it did change the fact that this was good news. Immediately, they border the Dragon Balls from Bulma and gather them all in one spot. Suddenly, Goku began to take the initiative and spoke. "Shenron, by your name I summon you forth." Meanwhile, all 7 Dragon Balls would begin to shine with great force. An aura of power began to spread throughout the Earth as darkness began to cover the land. From the abyss, an opposing dragon with green scales and red eyes suddenly appears. "I am the great dragon known as Shenron. Tell me what you desire, I can only fulfill one wish, so choose it wisely." "Shenron," said Goku, "my Namekian friend would like to know the exact methods of attaining the legendary Super Namekian transformation that was mentioned in the Namekian Book of Legend." "Is that your wish?" said Shenron as the dragon was prepared to grant it. But after remembering how Shenron previously reacted after seeing Lord Beerus, he decided to take full advantage of that again in order to gain extra wishes. "No," said Goku, "this is a request from Lord Beerus. He desired to know this knowledge. He said that you should not disappoint him." Immediately after hearing the name of Lord Beerus, Sharon was frozen in fear. "Lord Beerus," said Sharon. "He's here." In fear getting on the god's bad side, he proceeded to relay the information to Goku. "Yes, I possess knowledge of this Super Namekian. But this level of strength that you seek can only be attained if a dragon of Namekian descendants sacrifice his physical form and fuse with another." The Saiyans were confused as to what Shenron had meant, but Piccolo, who had some understanding of Namekian culture, knew what Shenron was imposing. With that in mind he spoke. He meant that a dragon of Namekian descendants, just like himself and Purunga, have to fuse with a Namekian, like me, and that's how the Super Namekian transformation mentioned in legend is achieved. "What?" said Goku. "So you're saying that he would have to sacrifice his life to fulfill the wish?" Goku didn't really understand Namekian biology nor way of life, so he completely misunderstood the situation, which Piccolo began to clear up. No, he would have to give up his physical body and become one with me. This means that his physical body would die and his soul and abilities would reside with me, therefore two beings will now become one. Well spoken, said Shenron, but if that's what you desire, then you must be aware of the downside. These current Dragon Balls would turn into stone and would be trapped in animated slumber for 1,000 years. During that time, no wish can be made, but after they have awoken, all 7 Dragon Balls will turn black and from them, my brother Purunga will appear. All of the time that I can manifest my physical body in this plane is almost up. Now speak your wish. The risk was then taken into account by the Z fighters and it was agreed upon that this is the necessary cause of action. With that in mind, they allowed Piccolo to make the wish. After the wish was made, Shenron had no choice but to grant it. His entire essence and soul was being completely sucked out of his body and was being implanted into Piccolo. Throughout this process, the sudden wave of power had managed to shock the Saiyans. A bright yellow aura started to radiate between the clouds, as a natural disaster began to occur, causing the mountains and oceans to go nuts. His power could be felt within the stars as a more buff Piccolo appears. His skin a distinctive orange color, his eyes had a trace of red flare, and boy was he jacked. It was at that specific moment that Orange Piccolo was born. A super Namekian able to rival Ultra Instinct Goku had set his foot on Earth's soft grass. Moments later, Shenarnon's body had completely disappeared into thin air. Even though the Dragon Balls were turned to stones, all 7 of them still followed protocol and dash off in the opposite direction, spreading out at each corner of the Earth, waiting to be reborn again. After Piccolo's transformation was completed, Goku had a trace of smirk on his face as he watched on with satisfaction. Congratulations Piccolo, now tell me, how does this newfound power feel? Piccolo was more confident as ever, and Shenron's superior personality began to show. I feel powerful, it's astounding, but I'll need to test this new transformation to have a better understanding of its capabilities, weaknesses and strengths. Goku was eager for a challenge, but Gohan subsequently told Goku that they needed to focus on more important matters due to the fact that they were only hours away from meeting the gods, and he believed this fight will deplete his strength and stamina. You're right, said Goku. Let's get back to business. How can we make Krillin, Master Roshi and yes, even Yamcha stronger? Unbeknownst to them, Piccolo has gained a significant amount of new abilities transferred over from fusing with Shenron. One of which is that he has the ability to draw out a person's latent potential, but the process can take at least 2 days per person. I'll help them achieve their true potential, but this will not be easy and it will take some time. I'd offer to do the same thing for you, but I can't seem to sense any blockage that's holding you back. This could mean one of 2 things. Either you Saiyans have reached your max potential or there's no limit to your power, but that you'll have to find out for yourself. Piccolo wanted to test out his newly acquired transformation, so he insisted on using the Hyperbolic Time Chamber for some training, which Krillin and the others also agreed to. The hard part of the Saiyan job was done, but an even harder task lay ahead. They were all rested and were prepared to confront the gods. Before they leave, Goku reminds Piccolo of Beerus and what to do if he escapes. With that, Goku at the top of his lungs spoke to the staff. Take us to any god of destruction. Like a servant listening to its master, the staff did as told, bringing all the Saiyans to section 444 where all the gods were waiting to ambush them. Within seconds, a beam of light shines down at the planet's surface, and from that light the Saiyans make their entrance, but it was at that specific moment, they realized that they were surrounded by all the gods of destruction from all sides, leaving no room for escape. Shit, said Vegeta. We are fucked, it's a trap.
Our story continues with the Saiyans' arrival in section 444 only to be forced into a trap. To their surprise and also to the viewers at home, they were completely surrounded with no clear route of escape. The situation was dangerous and the Saiyans weren't prepared for such an encounter. Suddenly, the Saiyans heard an evil laugh from a sinister person. It's so nice of you to come, said Belmont, who could be seen with a big smirk on his face. We've been waiting. I bet this isn't the greeting you were expecting.
Unfortunately for you Saiyans, we were prepared this time around, thanks to the Grand Priest of course. It appears that Belmont wasn't the only deity who had something to say. Ivan, the god of Universe 1, emerges from behind Goku and speaks up. The Grand Priest had informed us of your previous misdeeds, and unfortunately killing an angel is a multiversal offense, and for that, the Grand Priest has given us strict orders to bring you in, dead or alive. Suddenly, a menacing look fell on Quitella's face before he spoke these threatening words. There's no forgiveness for killing Rumshi, Korn and Kusu, so for that reason we've decided that a corpse is much easier and faster to transport. The Saiyans were stupefied. They still haven't recovered from the shock of seeing all the gods of destruction gathered in one place. In their mind, they've really screwed up big time. Separately, they believe that they take them no sweat, but together is a whole different story entirely. Immediately, a look of confusion could be seen on Vegeta's face. He was contemplating as to how this could have happened. With an emotion that showed no answers, he spoke. Kakarot, what have you done? You have killed us all. When you commanded that staff to locate a god, you could have told us that we were being transported to multiple key signatures, that way we would have been prepared. I wasn't aware, replied a surprised Goku. I still haven't completely figured out this staff. I just asked it to bring us to any god and it did. The staff did as told, said Gohan, who in a short span of time had solved the mystery. It was the gods who manipulated the staff into coming here. It was something that Belmont had mentioned that caught my attention. He said that this time around they were prepared, which forced me to believe that they knew about our method of transportation. Looking at the facts, the Saiyans shouldn't be surprised. After all, liquor had escaped them. He was the only one who knew about this, so in their mind there was no doubt that he was the one who had informed them. How could we've been so stupid, said Gohan. Yes, you Saiyans are sloppy, said Champa. And that miscalculation will cost you your miserable lives. The staff did as told, it brought you to a god, but unfortunately for you, we weren't spread out like we previously were before. We were all here when you made that command, so it had no choice but to bring you where it felt the keys of all the gods of destruction. From the opposite side of the Saiyans, Liquor was caught laughing. Seeing a panicking look on Goku's face was a delight for him. He wanted vengeance for the death of his friend and angel. Sure, said Liquor, it was me who had mentioned seeing you with the staff, but I wasn't the one to deduce that you were using the staff to locate us. In fact, that credit belongs to the brilliant mind of the Grand Priest. He was also the one who came up with this elaborate plan. I must say at first I questioned his methods, but now, it's turning out to be very fruitful. Vegeta was angry, as he began to yell at Goku once more. How many times have I told you to figure out that damn staff? Now, just look at the mess it brought us in. The gods were ecstatic to see the Saiyans arguing among themselves. This was something they had dreamed of, so they weren't ready to rush a closer. However, a more leveled Gohan stepped in and spoke. Everyone shut up. Arguing isn't going to help us in this predicament. Even though for a while he was stunned, he had caught on to the god's motive almost immediately. With a calm, cool and collective voice, he spoke once more. I see what's going on here. They're planning to overpower us with sheer numbers. I must say, this is quite a misrepresentation of a god. To think that the once feared gods would stoop so low as to gang up on 4 lonely mortals, how despicable. Gohan knew what he was doing. He had become a mastermind at manipulation, something that he picked up from meditating with Piccolo. He knew that the gods considered themselves to be proud warriors, and with that in mind, he was trying to stir up some conflicting anger, hoping that someone would become sloppy and provide the opening they needed to escape. Previously, when they had arrived from the Omni King's palace, the Grand Priest had taken the liberty to place an energy field around section 444, which means nothing can get in or out. This meant that both Goku and Vegeta's instant transmission was nullified. The Saiyans had felt a trace of divine energy radiating from all around them as soon as they saw all the gods. After trying to use instant transmission multiple times without success, that's when Gohan realized that this was the work of an angel, due to the fact that the gods have no such abilities. So instead of brawn, he started to use his brains. "Listen carefully, boy," said Belmont. "This was a royal decree made by the Grand Priest and the Omni King himself, so our feelings play no part in this. All that remains is orders, which we must carry out." Under the guidance of the Grand Priest, the gods had become much wiser. Almost instantly they caught on to Gohan's intentions and they weren't about to act irrationally. "Father, we must hold back," said Gohan as he noticed that the gods didn't fall for his scheme. It was at that very moment, he knew that a fight was inevitable. "It's best to go all out from the start and try to cut down their numbers," said Vegeta. "But even so, I still can't see a clear path of victory for us." On the other hand, Broly was simply chilling as he was confused as to what his fellow Saiyans were discussing. Being the least experienced of the group, he wasn't able to comprehend the difficult situation they were in nor the type of threat that stood before him. Previously, he had fought two gods of destruction, and to him, he considered them to be weak given how easily they had dispatched them. "What's the problem?" said Broly. "This is a good thing, now we don't have to hunt them down anymore. Look, all 10 of them had graciously gathered in one place for us. They appear confident now, but that confidence will not last. As it stands, they're the one who is our prisoners, not the other way around." The gods were listening keenly, and after hearing Broly's bold remarks, they weren't so fond of his tone. "You brat," said an angry Champa, "even in the face of death, you still continue to run your mouth. Death is too good for the likes of you. I'll personally make sure that you will be met with a complete eraser." After observing Champa from head to toe, something had clicked in Broly's head. With a loud outburst, he spoke. "You look familiar, have I met before?" "That's the twin brother of Lord Beerus," said Goku. "You know, the god of destruction that you fought on Earth before we sealed him away." "Oh, that guy," said Broly, who started thinking back to the fight he had with Lord Beerus. "Now that guy has some strength. If I remember correctly, Kakarot, didn't you say he could be the strongest god of destruction? If that's the truth, then we have nothing to fear from these weaklings. In fact, I'll show you right now." At speed beyond light, Broly charged in at Champa. However, his attack was shut down completely by two gods of destruction who were aware of Broly's intentions. Both Ivan and Ark had managed to subdue Broly by grasping his arms from opposite angles, while they slammed him from mid-air to the ground. "Where do you think you're going?" said Ivan. Before they both twisted Broly's hand further, causing him to scream out in agony. At that precise moment, the Saiyans could tell from the gods' facial expressions that they meant business. Broly's attack has reminded the gods of their previous goals, and further talking was out of the question. Their reasons for eradicating the Saiyans were now strong as ever. The gods were itching to avenge the death of their comrade, Rumshi. Their plan was to attack each Saiyan in pairs of 2, while the remaining 2 gods of destruction patiently wait and watch for an opening before carrying out the next phase of their plans. This act from the gods had forced the Saiyans to transform. At this moment, a battle was inevitable and the Saiyans were ready even if it meant certain death. However, Broly wasn't done. In fact, he was furious. As the once bright sky darkens, a bolt of lightning strikes down directly at Broly. This had forced the gods to jump back as they watched the bolt of lightning being absorbed into the Saiyan's body. Suddenly the entire Null Void realm began to quiver in the terror of withstanding Broly's power. Broly was angry, so angry that due to the point where his training with the Saiyans might appear to be useless. Once more, everyone around him thought that he had lost all sense of reasoning. Broly's voice began to rumble as his face showed a look of danger. "You gods are dead," said Broly while he fully transformed into his humanized great ape form known as Berserk Broly. "What's going on?" said Goku. "Broly, I thought you mastered this." Out of nowhere, Vegeta shouts. "Leave him be. It's not as if he lost control, it's the way this form works. Whenever he is in this form, he allows himself to temporarily fuse with Uzaru, the same great ape that resides in every Saiyan's body, only Broly wasn't allowing it to fully transform. He is trying to suppress the great ape's ki, causing it to get angry." In this transformation, both Brawly and Uzaru's mind are linked, therefore, the great ape's emotions are being transmitted through Brawly's physical body. I've noticed this in the Room of Time. Whenever Brawly is in this form, he gains an overwhelming wealth of power. This form is just fueled by rage due to the presence of the great ape, so on the outside it might appear as if he's lost control, but I can assure you he has not. Once he fully suppresses the great ape's ki and completes his transformation to an ascended Saiyan, he will be back to normal. Gohan was confused, so he asked Vegeta why didn't Brawly simply skip this transformation and go straight Super Saiyan, which Vegeta responded by saying that Brawly could have skipped it, but his Super Saiyan form would be significantly weaker in power if he had taken that route. You see, I realized that this form acts as a catalyst, said Vegeta. It's a way for him to steal the powers of the great ape that resides in this body, allowing him to fuse it with his own ki, so when he transforms into a Super Saiyan, he will not only be using his energy, but also the energy he has absorbed from Uzaru while he was in that form. This will make his Super Saiyan transformation at least 2 times more powerful than it previously was, if not more. Kakarot, said Vegeta, in this form, his energy and stamina had increased considerably. We need this break, so let him rampage. Our story continues with Brawly charging indirectly at Ivan. His speed was out of this world as the god was having a hard time tracking Brawly's ape-like movements. With speed less than 1/10 of a second, Brawly abruptly appeared directly in front of Ivan, while hurling a punch at point-blank range which Ivan somehow managed to block. However, Brawly's increase in strength wasn't about to go unnoticed. The force of punch was so powerful that it sent the gods flying in a backward direction. In an instant, Brawly went on the offensive as both fighters started levitating and gliding through the air, while launching planet-shattering blows after blows. Ivan was indeed powerful, and that power had brought about confidence that can be recognized among those who considered themselves to be superior. His ego was so boosted that throughout the fight, he continued to suppress quite a tremendous amount of his powers and abilities. Ivan felt that 40% of his powers would be enough to subdue Brawly, but he suddenly realized that he had made a grave miscalculation as he himself had started sustaining damages from the shockwave dispersing from the collision of their fist. Brawly had become a menace to society. With his humanized Uzaru transformation almost fully complete, his movements started to become very unorthodox and chaotic as every time Ivan managed to land a blow, within seconds Brawly kept lounging back in the fight with even more strength than he previously had. Where did this guy come from? Said Ivan as both him and Brawly began to trade blows once more at an astronomical pace. On the other hand, Ark wasn't going to continue observing from the sidelines. Within seconds, his entire body was covered with the destruction ki of the gods. At the precise moment, Ark raises his hand signaling for Ivan to move as soon as he makes his move. Ivan would have recognized this and immediately he understood the assignment, but he needed to keep Brawly's attention focused on him, or else Brawly would have noticed Ark and the combo would have failed. In an instant, Ark vanishes before everyone's eyes and then suddenly reappears directly above Brawly, while preparing to launch a huge ball filled with concentrated destruction ki down at the Saiyan who was distracted by Ivan. Almost immediately, Vegeta would have realized the trap, and with that he placed 2 fingers to his forehead signaling to the audience that he was about to use in transmission, but during those crucial milliseconds of him disappearing, Belmont the god of Universe 11 materialized and grabbed Vegeta by the neck with his left hand, while delivering a heavy blow to the rib cage of Vegeta with his right hand, sent him crashing to the ground. However, Vegeta wasn't the only Saiyan to witness the trap. Goku had also anticipated this and without seconds to spare, he uses instant transmission to teleport himself directly in front of the blast. The ball was filled with concentrated destruction ki and was dropping fast, so much that the surface of the planet began to split apart. Everything within the radius of the destruction ki had been destroyed. "You fool," said Ark. "Now you both shall die." All the gods had agreed except Moscow, who was busy fighting Gohan in his ultimate form. "I wasn't expecting the mortal to act so irrationally," said Ivan. but killing two birds with one stone is quite exhilarating. However, shortly after that statement, Goku had transformed into his mastered Ultra Instinct form and was preparing to take the blast head-on. With a look of confidence and power, Goku in his mastered Ultra Instinct form stood strong and simply raised his hands, stopping the blast in its tracks. On impact, he then gripped the blast with his fingers and poured some of his divine ki inside the core, causing the blast to evaporate into thin air. "Impossible," said Ark, who could only watch on in total disbelief. That form, how could he have mastered it, and in such a short time as well?
What's causing it? Here it comes.
At the previous tournament of power, which took place in the exact place they are fighting now, Goku had tapped into powers of Ultra Instinct, but he hadn't fully mastered it, and the backlash of attaining such divine level of strength had caused the Saiyans to suffer immeasurable pain. Due to that fact, all the gods had assumed that he would never be able to achieve it again. "How is this mortal doing this?" said Jin. "To cancel out destruction energy is no easy task, and this mortal did it effortlessly." "We should have expected this," said Sidra. "After all, it's almost impossible to hurt an angel, let alone kill one, and these Saiyans had managed to kill two. This news alone is quite frightening." All the gods were stunned, causing the initial fight between Gohan and Moscow to come to a complete stop. "These Saiyans showcase great levels of strength," said Liquor, "and this isn't even the peak of their powers. How can I forget? I felt it firsthand. We must go all out and attack them as a united force. That's the only way we have a chance of stopping them." Liquor was cautious as he wasn't about to make the mistakes he previously made in the past, being the only god alive apart from Lord Beerus to have ever witnessed the Saiyans' true strength and lived to tell about it. He knew what the Saiyans were truly capable of doing. However, what the gods failed to realize was that Broly's strength was still growing at an astronomical rate. After noticing that Ivan had unintentionally lowered his guard due to being stunned by Goku's sudden display of power, he used the opportunity to fire off a powerful blast directly from his mouth in an effort to eradicate the god. But, it was at that very moment, the god of Universe 12 teleported in front of Broly's blast with the intention of showcasing his own power as well. Within range of collision, the god easily slapped the blast directly back at Broly, causing it to explode on impact. Unfortunately, all this did was anger the Saiyan even more as a look of hunger and rage started to formulate within the smoke and dust. Suddenly, the legendary Super Saiyan transformation was about to make its debut as Broly could be seen radiating a huge amount of greenish concentrated ki, which was encoded all around his body. Within seconds, Broly had transitioned from his berserk humanized Great Ape form to now a true Super Saiyan, while still maintaining the powers he managed to siphon from the Great Ape. His newfound power was downright terrifying, as Broly's Super Saiyan form was now 5 times stronger than it previously was. Even though the Uzaru form is 10 times the strength of a base Saiyan, Broly didn't get the times 10 multiplier due to the fact that he had maintained his humanized form, so that boost of strength was split in half. However, what he lacks in strength, he makes up for it in speed. Jin, on the other hand, was the overseer of the battle. His initial role was to survey the entire battleground, as he was one of the 2 gods who had agreed to stay back and cover the gods if they somehow needed any assistance. But after seeing and feeling the dangerous ki radiating off the Saiyan, he now set his sights on stopping Broly before he gained any more power. With a radiant light, Broly began to carefully launch a barrage of ki blasts directly at the gods of destruction, all while instinctively avoiding the blast from targeting the Saiyans. However, the gods did something unseen to the Dragon Ball world. Together, all the gods of destruction created huge balls of destruction energy and began to fuse them together into one enormous ball of concentrated ki. Suddenly, to the Saiyan's surprise, all the gods had walked directly to the center inside the ball unharmed. Their plan was to use the ball's destruction energy as a protective barrier against Broly's relentless attacks, all while using the destruction force of the barrier to fend off physical attacks. It was at that moment, both Vegeta and Gohan had used that opportunity to fully transform. Vegeta went straight into his Ultra Ego as he felt that all the forms beneath this are useless in their current position. Meanwhile, Gohan uses this chance to go Mystic as he felt that holding back wasn't an option anymore. Although it wasn't in their original planning, Broly has given an opportunity they can't afford to waste. Instantly, the Saiyans started to spread out, surrounding the ball of destruction from four corners, each preparing to launch their signature moves down at the gods who were in the middle of the sphere of Ki. Simultaneously, the Saiyans proceed in firing off their signature technique. Gohan launches his Masenko, Vegeta fires his Destruction Final Flash, while Goku fires his Kamehameha. Broly was already on the offensive as he kept up his barrage of blast, forcing the gods to stay inside the sphere. At that precise moment, all the blast belonging to the Saiyan had collided with the gods' destruction ki. However, on impact, it appears that the Saiyans didn't calculate the amount of power they needed as the destruction ball was rapidly increasing in size and power, pushing back the Saiyans' initial blast. "What's happening?" said Gohan. "We're not breaking through. It appears that the gods are going on the offensive," said Goku. "They're constantly imbuing more of their destruction energy inside the blast, causing it to expand in size and power," but before Vegeta could respond, Goku had released his staff, but not before giving it a few simple instructions. "Release more power," said Vegeta. "Let's show them the might of us Saiyans." At that moment, the Saiyans began to increase their strength at a rapid rate while still maintaining their current forms. The collision could be felt far and wide as the universe started to quake in its boots. However, it wasn't the same for Broly. His rage and anger had forced a new transformation, causing him to arrive at something truly unprecedented. Not even the universe could contain his powers, as his keys could be felt all the way at the palace of the Omni King. His ki wasn't divine, but it was universal. Even the angels could recognize his strength as the Saiyan continues to rage in anger. Suddenly, his eyes started to glow red, while the skin on his face slowly began to strip off, revealing a golden great ape desperately trying to break free. This sudden shock of power had forced the Saiyans to cancel their initial blast and abandon their post, seeing that Broly's boost of energy was too great. However, the gods still maintained their position in the protection of their impressive ball of destruction energy. "What's going on with Broly?" said Gohan as he couldn't comprehend what his eyes were witnessing. "I don't know," said Goku, as he too has never witnessed this transformation before, nor has he ever heard of it. "It's Uzaru," said Vegeta. "I'm not sure, but I think this had something to do with him stealing the power of the great ape while he was in his berserk form. I might be wrong, but by the looks of it, there's no suppressing that monster anymore, it's coming out. I only hope that Broly is the one in control, otherwise the gods aren't the only threats we have to fight today." Unexpectedly, the transformation was complete as the 50 feet Uzaru stood tall, casting a menacing stare at the Saiyans before looking back at the gods. Suddenly, with one impressive jump, it landed before the ball of destruction ki, which all the gods were currently in. The planet's surface trembled beneath the feet of Golden Uzaru. "What is that thing?" said Champa. However, before Champa could say another word, Golden Uzaru proceeded to pick up the ball of destruction with his bare hands. The gods were in total disarray, seeing a mortal perform such impressive feats as mind-shattering. "That monster literally holds destruction energy," said Hellas. "I'm seeing it, but somehow I refuse to believe it." Suddenly, the Golden Uzaru started to squeeze the massive destruction energy in the palm of his hands, just like Frieza had done. Only this time, the blast was astronomically larger than the one Frieza had stopped. "Hurrying," said Quitella. "Cancel out the blast, if we don't we will surely be killed." "Are you mad?" said Belmont. "This barrier is the only thing protecting us from being flattened alive. If we cancel out the blast, our fate would be sealed." Following Belmont's speech, the gods instantly realized that it was too late for them to disperse the blast. However, unbeknownst to the Saiyans, the gods didn't come alone. Suddenly, Out of nowhere, a mysterious person appears and delivers a rock-solid blow to the face of Golden Uzaru, knocking the ape 3 steps back. This brave act had forced the freedom of the gods as the huge ball of destruction fell from Uzaru's hand and suddenly began to evaporate. "What took you so long?" said an angry Belmont. "My lord," said Jiren, "I was specifically told to only intervene if I see an imminent danger. That ape-like creature is a threat, so I did as requested." "Jiren," said Goku, "why are you here? This is not a matter I wish to settle with you, it's with us and the gods." However, Jiren could only look back at the Saiyan in disgust as he started to think back to what the Grand Priest had told him. "So it's true," said Jiren. "Son Goku, I was hoping that this was a misunderstanding, but it appears that the Grand Priest and Lord Belmont weren't lying after all. Seeing you here confirms their accusation. Son Goku, even if you were wronged, one should not go around killing divine beings and say it's all in the name of justice. It's unfortunate. I was actually looking forward to our rematch someday, but never had I once thought it would be under these circumstances." "How interesting," said Vegeta. "It didn't even occur to us that you would be the one to run to the aid of these jokes of a god. Initially we thought it would be the angels, but then they send you to prove that they take our strength for granted. No matter, sooner or later, they all shall suffer the same fate just as you're going to suffer right now. Forget Kakarot, I wouldn't mind getting a rematch myself. Since you came here on behalf of protecting your god, my conscience will be free when I kill you." However, as if Vegeta wasn't even there, Jiren rudely disregards Vegeta's presence as he turns back to Goku and begins to speak. Seeing such disrespect, Vegeta was burning with rage and fury. He was dying to teach Jiren a lesson, but before Vegeta could transform into his awakened Ultra Ego 3 form, the once bright sky suddenly darkens. Suddenly, huge chunks of the planet's surface slowly levitated as Broly began to shrink in size back to the height of a person. His powers could be felt throughout the multiverse as the force emanating from his ki transcends time and even space itself. Jiren, who was so confident at first, was forced to step back under the stifling weather change due to Broly's overwhelming, astronomical strength. However, a bit of smiles began to break out on the Saiyan's face. With nothing but a warning, Goku spoke. "I suggest you prepare yourself, Jiren. You've managed to anger a monster in human form." As the clouds briefly parted, a beam of light shines down on Broly, showcasing him in the legendary Super Saiyan 4 transformation that no Saiyan had ever achieved. But this wasn't the extent of Broly's new and improved Super Saiyan 4 transformation. This time he had managed to acquire the full 10 times multiplier given from the Golden Ape transformation while gaining an even greater level of speed. From the far corner of the Saiyans, the gods had all stood frozen after witnessing Broly's unrivaled powers. "How is this mortal doing this?" said Ivan. "It's as if he has no limits. Also, what is this dreadful transformation? I can't sense any divine ki. Is this the pinnacle of mortal strength?" After snapping back to reality, Jiren stood headstrong and spoke once more. "What an impressive display of strength, I must commend you on that. However, don't get cocky, as I too have transcended the laws of gods.